Welcome back. I'm Stephanie Ruhle. This morning, Washington and the rest of the world is reacting to the resignation of Defense Secretary Jim Mattis. The New York Times reporting that after the president rejected Mattis's last attempt to talk him out of the decision to withdraw U.S. troops from Syria, Mattis handed him a resignation letter. A letter that sharply rebuked the way the president has dealt with the country's top allies and adversaries. Quote, "One core belief I have always held, that our strength as a nation is inextricably linked to the strength of our unique and comprehensive system of alliances and partnerships. Similarly, I believe we must be resolute and unambiguous in our approach to those countries whose strategic interests are increasingly in tension with ours." And abroad, lawmakers are reacting to what one official describes as a morning of alarm. The chair of the Foreign Affairs Committee in the German parliament writing, quote, "Now we have an unrestrained Trump, which is a dangerous signal for the year ahead." The co-chair of the European Council on Foreign Affairs described General Mattis as, quote, "the remaining strong bond across the Atlantic in the Trump administration." While the former French diplomatic advisor warned America's allies are already reviewing all options. That is stunning. Think about it. Joining me now to break all of it down, NBC News national security and military reporter Courtney Kube. Courtney, can you tell us more about what happened behind the scenes? What led to the decision? Mattis tried to get to the president when?
So there have been really two big things that have happened just recently where Secretary Mattis has been at odds with President Trump and with the White House. And these seem to be the things that pushed him over the edge in this decision. The first one you mentioned there was about the decision to withdraw all U.S. troops from Syria. Now, that idea has actually been kicked around for several days, about a week or so. President Trump has made no secret of the fact that he wants U.S. troops out of Syria. There's been some discussion about where the levels should be. Should the U.S. leave? Should they, take certain numbers out or what? And President Trump, of course, decided to pull all troops out in a very quick succession, something that Secretary Mattis and other military leaders were against. The second thing just this week was this discussion of a withdrawal of U.S. troops from Afghanistan. It's not clear what that will look like yet. It seems that the Pentagon is just presenting the plans to the White House still. But it's everything from drawing down the training mission to a complete and full withdrawal of all 14 to 15,000 U.S. troops who are there for all this time. These were two things that Secretary Mattis, based on his resignation letter, saw as a clear security concern, and they seem to be what tipped him over the edge to have him make this decision to resign this week, Steph.
Okay, walk us through Mattis and the support he has from Washington, one of the few people widely respected on both sides of the aisle. Talk us through the reaction in D.C.
The reality is he's had a lot of disagreements with President Trump over the time, and he has support from both sides of the aisle. And we've heard some of that just in the time since his resignation letter post. Republicans saying, like Ben Sasse, saying that this is a sad day for America. Democrats calling this a national security crisis. We heard from Nancy Pelosi last night, expressing her concern for this decision. So he, of course, has had bipartisan support. He has not, throughout the course of his time, this almost 2 years he's been the Secretary of Defense, he has had his disagreements with the Hill, just most recently with the whole Khashoggi murder and him supporting the president and the White House and seeming to defend the Saudis over that murder. So it hasn't been a completely unrocky tenure as Secretary of Defense, but he does have, he has more than 40 years in the Marine Corps, and he built up a tremendous amount of gravitas on the Hill with the American people, certainly with the U.S. military in that time. And that really has carried him throughout his tenure as Secretary of Defense.
Well, then maybe it wasn't just about Syria. Maybe it had been weighing on Jim Mattis that he stood with the president and the president's stance on Saudi Arabia and how he basically lied to the American people about what we knew and what happened surrounding Jamal Khashoggi's death. Courtney, thank you. I want to bring in two very special guests to weigh in. Ambassador Chris Hill, University of Denver professor and a former U.S. ambassador to Iraq, South Korea, Poland, and Macedonia, and an MSNBC diplomacy expert. And my friend, Colonel Jack Jacobs, a retired Army colonel, Medal of Honor recipient, and an MSNBC military analyst. Ambassador Hill, to you first, what struck you most about General Mattis's resignation letter? It's rare to see military guys get out of the foxhole.
He didn't leave much to the imagination. It went on for almost 2 pages. And it was pretty clear that he has some fundamental disagreements with his president. You know, General Mattis is the person who has, I think, allowed others to feel they can work in this administration. You know, if it's okay with General Mattis, they can certainly do it. It's allowed allies and partners around the world to say, well, this is tough, but General Mattis is there, so it's going to be okay. And so I think his resignation, I think this is really a watershed moment. And the question is, how is the president going to behave looking forward? So this is a huge development. I do want to say that Syria, you know, of all the complex military problems in the Middle East, none more so than Syria. You have at least two wars going on there. You got the war against ISIS. You've got the war for sort of eventual running of Syria and Damascus. And it wasn't clear what we were seeking in terms of an end state. But certainly this precipitous withdrawal has left our allies bewildered and, frankly, our enemies quite pleased.
Two wars going on, and Vladimir Putin says the move is correct because U.S. troops aren't needed. All of this sparking a resignation from Jim Mattis. What's your reaction, Colonel?
Well, you know you're doing something wrong when Putin says you're doing it right. Hezbollah said the same thing, and so did Erdogan. I think it's interesting
Can you put that in perspective for our audience, what a big deal that is?
Well, you know, we're there fighting the bad guys in the eastern part of Syria, but Russia and Iran are both there for their own aggrandizement. Russia wants warm water ports, which they otherwise can have. They don't want their Black Sea fleet bottled up in the Black Sea, with Turkey having the possibility of cutting them off at the Dardanelles. They want to increase their influence. Russia would love to have the Mediterranean as a Russian lake. Iran is working very hard to expand its influence. You know, there's a proxy war going on all over the Middle East between Saudi Arabia on the one hand and Iran on the other for control of hearts and minds. Iran also lauded the pullout of the United States from Syria. Our allies there are the Kurds. I think it's something of it's too much of a coincidence that Trump has a conversation with Erdogan about how Turkey's going to come in there and knock the Kurds off, and the very next thing we do is leave.
So it didn't come out of nowhere that the president made this decision. He had a phone call with Erdogan.
And by the way, it's not the first time that we've left the Kurds, who are our allies, high and dry. So this is very bad news for the United States, worldwide, not just in the Middle East. It demonstrates that we do not have the intention of projecting our power to advance our and our allies' interests. And at the end, the pullout from Syria, probable withdrawal from Afghanistan, but most significantly, the resignation of Mattis demonstrates that Trump is well on his way to doing what he wants to do. He's an isolationist. He wants to isolate the United States. And Mattis's withdrawal from the world stage is going to almost guarantee that.
He wants to isolate the United States. President Trump, I know you like to think you know a lot about the markets. You know, it doesn't do well for the markets and isolated the United States. Ambassador Hill, last question to you. What does this do to our allies? It was described this morning that our allies are sounding an alarm. Earlier this week, I spoke to a CEO before General Mattis's resignation who said, we just need to make sure the president is a one-term president, because if he's a two-term president, our allies will start to really be concerned that he is getting a foothold and going to change what and who America is on a global scale. Is that happening now?
Yeah, I mean, I think, people have been, our allies have been extremely concerned about Donald Trump and Europe especially. And it was always kind of General Mattis's job to go in there and do cleanup and say, don't worry, we got this under control. We're doing the things we've always done. We need more support from you, and we're going to push you on that. But don't worry, the basic alliance will be in good shape. Well, now there's no Mattis, and instead the sort of major contender for a role here is John Bolton, who is no friend to allies. And one other point, the president has talked about getting out of Korea, and Mattis, again, has pushed against that. This is a major problem, and so his departure is going to be huge.
Remember, a year ago, it was Bob Corker who said We have Rex Tillerson. We have John Kelly. We have Mattis keeping us from going over the edge. Now we don't have any of them.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.